very shortly. There we are, just right on time. And looking at Smitty J as well in the top lane, like he has played Irelia for the longest time. So both of these guys in the top lane could have a lot to bring to the table in this one-on-one. I personally favor Chachi a little bit though.
I would look at Shen though, because I think that was a vital pick for the Unicorns, and I honestly hope that Giants get rid of it, because if the Unicorns get the Shen pick, Vizichachi has the lane on lockdown, so like he's not going to go down more than maybe 10 CS, and he has a global that he can then use to influence the bot lane, and that is what 615 is all about. Like, we've seen it in the LCK, we've heard about it over in Europe. It's all about grouping with your jungler, getting the lane priority, and then roaming to the bottom lane, either just simply faking the pressure or diving 4v2, 5v2. It is Forgiven's worst nightmare.
All right, gentlemen, let's quickly run through these bans here. They have all been locked in from Giants and the Unicorns of Love. Gangplank, Cassidy, and Bard coming out from the Giants, and Lysandra, Nidalee, and Shen. So the pick you were just talking about, Mitch, has been taken away from the Giants.
And so a lot of globals being taken off the board. Nidalee, surprisingly, still being on the ban list. We were wondering whether or not she would still be high in priority, but from what we've heard from a lot of junglers, she's still considered very strong and still very powerful in the early game.
Once Nidalee's off the board, though, it does seem that Rek'Sai has moved up a couple of ranks there. So that's what Unicorns are looking at right now. Like, are they going to lock in this Illaoi very early? They don't have to. I'm a bit surprised that they ban out the Shen themselves, but it has been played by so many teams. And it forces Giants to go for this Karma first pick. And that's actually quite against the trend. Karma mid doesn't really get played too much, so she is flexed. But as a support meta, we've seen almost exclusively melee supports over in the LCK. So if this Karma ends up in support, Giants is already buckling a trend.
And I'm really surprised to see the response from Unicorns as well, because we were talking to Senkox earlier on, and I was like, yo, Senkox, what do you think of Ryze right now? And he said, well, not the strongest champion in the mid lane right now.
It is a Vizichachi special, however.
It is, yeah. So we'll have to see how they're able to incorporate that, because typically his global pressure isn't quite the same as like a Gangplank and a Shen. You won't really take points in your ultimate until the level 10, 11 mark. So it's going to be difficult if it is in the top lane to really be that roaming threat that that he could have potentially been.
Right. Well, we've got the next couple of picks coming in here from Giants, toying with the idea of Syndra. Good as that blind pick, of course, but we are waiting just for that lock-ins here. Just 10 seconds remaining on this one.
And if we look at what we can take from the later parts of the season, which is not much because we're on a vastly different patch, it is still that stylistically Unicorns were performing very well in 4-1 competitions that resulted in a lot of team fights. And that maybe is why they just draft this Ryze, you know, to protect him in the team fights, have him unleashed, you know, with the combos later on, and play around Vizichachi. They have move on a good ganking jungler that can alter his pathways a little bit. That's why I think Rek'Sai is really good on 615, is because you can go for unexpected pathing ganks. Now that all the lanes are settling back into 1v1, 2v2, he can go over Dragon Pits, you know, tunnel over in weird locations, and maybe surprise his opponent.
But I think it's okay for Giants, because Max Law clearly saying that I'm fine to give away the Rek'Sai because I can get the comfort pick in Gragas. He's had a huge amount of success on the champion. It's been something that he has been well known for throughout the split, for being able to make plays, getting those key targets that they really want to try and lock down. And when you're going up against a low mobility Ryze, and with champions like Ashe and Jhin being the high priority AD carries, Gragas really does work very well in the meta right now.
And with Smitty J likely picking up this Karma as support, if you have a double ranged bot lane, you can leave them to their own like device, and you can start roaming to top lane potentially. However, if Hustle unlocks in the Alistar, that entire plan kind of shifts around, of course, you know. But the premise is that if you pick a passive bot lane with range support, you can actually start playing around top and mid as a jungler, and then maybe this Gnar Gragas combo can shut down a potential Ryze top.
Well, we have the lock-ins here from Unicorns of Love. The Ashe coming out largely thought to be the strongest bot laner currently in terms of ADCs, and the Kennen actually as well for the Unicorns of Love.
So the Kennen coming out, the last time we saw that was actually from Vitality, bringing out from Cabochard in the top lane, where they weren't able to win the game, but it was definitely very oppressive during the laning phase. And the interesting thing about Kennen is you can flex him with the Ryze in the top or in the mid. Typically, he works better in the longer lanes, and into Gnar, he can actually be hyper aggressive. And during that mini Gnar form, he can be super, he can just force the Gnar out of lane.
Sure.
Yeah, we see the doubt here from Giants kind of. They're showing us what they're thinking, you know. They wanted the range support on bot lane. Like, Jhin Zyra is incredibly strong with poke, you know, spawning the slowing plants. You can proc the Jhin W, but then they're like, no, maybe just not worth it to lock in a weaker Karma mid. So they switch over to the Vladimir here. For a second, they were thinking about building like a full poke comp potentially. But right now, they do go for Jhin Karma bot, an incredibly self-sufficient lane. Vladimir in itself won't need that many ganks either. He's kind of on his own too, so it is likely that Maxwell is going to spend some time in that top lane with CBJ.
Yeah, that was one of our questions. Where is Maxwell going to be spending his time in that early game now that we will be seeing these standard lanes? But now Unicorns of Love toying with what they want to pick up as their support here.
The thing is, I'm actually very surprised that Unicorns have been able to draft this because their most successful bottom lane is Ashe Brawl. Veritas is 8-1 on that Ashe throughout the regular season. Hylissang is 6-1 on the Brawl. This is a comfortable bot lane, and in the current meta is extremely powerful, especially at that level 6 farm.
Yeah, this is actually where we usually would see Tahm Kench over Braum, but Unicorns have a history of resorting to comfort picks slightly beyond what the meta tells them to play. So this does seem that they're very comfortable. I'm a little worried about this Ryze pick though, because it needs to get ahead, because I've seen it snowball downwards into Oblivion plenty of times. But they have a wealth of crowd control effects. Look again, you know, as a potential team fight, 4-man group, cannon flying, that's what they're looking for. Look for proto belt action.
One of the things that Sankix mentioned earlier on was the fact that the problem with Ryze is it's actually, even with Ghost, very difficult to get onto your opponents, and kiting can be a real issue. When you're going up against a Vlad, a Gragas, and a Karma, it could become a potential problem to actually close the gap between them and Giants.
So as these guys are looking to shake hands quickly, guys, what are you thinking in terms of predictions? How do you think this one's going to pan out?
For game 1 or the series?
The series.
Series, I think Giants will take it 3-1.
I was going to say the series to Unicorns, but obviously not so sure.
We'll be finding out. Players are ready, champions are locked in. It's time to head into our first clash of the summer playoffs between Giants and the Unicorns of Love.
In laning phase, they're pretty defensive, but they don't like to fight without jungle around.
Unicorns, they do a lot of weird stuff.
I think against Giants, we have pretty good chance beating them.
We really want to perform, that's what it comes down to. And now we gotta step up and win.
And we are in-game, ladies and gentlemen, for this best of 5, the quarterfinals here between Giants and the Unicorns of Love. Honestly, this series could go either way, gentlemen. I'm very excited to be here casting this one.
Yeah, I think this will be an exciting quarterfinal. Bit of an unexpected one, Giants versus the Unicorns of Love. But nevertheless, it is certainly going to be action-packed, especially now that this might be a bit of a bait. Unicorns of Love potentially setting up for a lane swap, but I can't. I'm not entirely sure this. It looks like they could go for an aggressive invade, try and get some deep vision down, see where Giants are starting their jungle.
I mean, the lane swaps are gone because the cost of lane swapping has been deemed universally too high. But obviously, we don't have insight in scrims and kind of off the book kind of plays. When everybody tells you something is impossible and you then have to play against it, you need to adjust. Like if somebody somehow, probably not this series, but randomly pulls a lane swap on you, you're not ready for it. The whole reason lane swaps used to be punished super hard is because teams are ready to punish them. Eventually, teams will get a lot more greedy and kind of accepting that their lanes are defaulting to 2v2 and 1v1. Maybe one day somebody can surprise, but I doubt it that this is going to be the game.
Yeah, coming with the potential swap up. You were talking about these two teams as well, Crepo, and indeed you as well, Vedius, and how like they were stronger in potentially standard lanes, Unicorns of Love doing that slightly less, but actually winning more of their games.
Yeah, it looks like just speaking of the standard matchup, you can see that Unicorns, this was something that we expected a little bit more of, where you go for that first camp start, and when you have a ranged support, typically it's better to either go deep into the brush to try and punish the camp start, or actually go for the invade. And because Unicorns went for that early swap, Giants were able to get the deep vision down, and they were able to interrupt this early camp.
And Hylissang is actually doing something he's trying to race for level 2 in this matchup where he doesn't have to push, and he uses the relic stacks early. I feel if you want to race, you need to be able to match early and then use your relic stacks on the next wave, because otherwise you'll just get pushed in. I think Giants reacted a bit with an overpush here, because this matchup, Jhin Karma murders anything with a melee support. You know, you can deny them access to CS, access to the wave, stack it up, push it into the tower, but it looks like Hustlin and Sunstar right here, they're over pushing. Like they're using so many abilities on these creeps that this wave is just gonna walk into the Unicorns of Love tower pretty much for free. So they're not optimizing and maximizing their poke potential and denying. Right here, they're trying to punish as much as they can. But Veritas and Hylissang, they're honestly very happy with how the first few levels went here. For me, a bit of a misplay on the side of Giants.
Yeah, Sunstar missing a lot of those CS. It was heading into tower as well. You just saw the fan vote, of course. Unicorns of Love actually slightly ahead, but I mean, it's basically 50-50. Interesting.
And that should never happen if you have such a range disadvantage. The props to the Unicorns for kind of forcing Giants and their hand.
Keep an eye on move, because it looks like he's actually trying to set up a play on a Smitty.
Yeah, around that 3-minute mark, what we used to see in the old days when we saw the standard lanes all the time, so Smitty must know this is coming.
He doesn't know exactly. Now he could expect it, but the 245/3 minute gank isn't as common. The wave's also manipulated very well. The problem is, Chachi, in his effort to park that wave there, took so much damage.
Move's gonna give it a shot though. Chachi's gonna jump after him, burns the flash and the stun and the knock-up move coming in here with the Queen's Wrath. The auto attack, first blood for Chachi.
And that's exactly what they need to do in this series. Traditionally, it's all about pushing mid and roaming bottom for the dives. However, in a top lane matchup that is so snowbally between Chachi and Smitty J as players, I think this is the right approval from Move.
And the thing is, Chachi, that initial setup was not great for him because he was still level 2. Move was wasting a huge amount of trying to set that gank up, and if he didn't have that Lightning Rush available, there was no way he was actually going to get it, but they waited for Smitty J's Mega Gnar to run out. He was slightly overpushed in the lane. The moment Chachi hit 3, they just pushed the go button and they forced the play. They get the kill, and this is a great start for the Unicorn.
Yeah, the whole premise of that gank is that Smitty J will get baited into poking out Chachi even more, and then kind of being faithful that he can outplay the 2v1. But it's a good timing here. 3-camp start into a gank from behind on top lane. This is something we used to see so often in a carry top meta, when bot lanes were forced to play kind of sustain.
Yeah, I remember those days. Always good to be warding just before that happens, just in case the jungler's thinking about a gank. Maxlor sees Move as he steals away everything he owns currently in the top side of the jungle. Mid lane still going toe-to-toe here. And Vedius, I know you like talking about mid lane matchups. How do you think this one's going?
So, typically, Vladimir should have the slight edge during the early game because he does have the push advantage over Ryze. You have to burn a lot of your mana, and while you can use that Flux to put a little pressure down, I think that Knight was just a little bit overzealous early on. He ended up taking a little bit more poke than he was initially expecting because the damage on an empowered Q from the Flux can actually catch a lot of people off guard, and when the general consensus is Ryze is not very good, some mid laners won't actually put the effort into him, so when you go up against him, sometimes you don't entirely expect all that damage to come out.
Yeah,
so
to truly outplay a champion, you need to play him very often yourself or do like rigorous VOD reviews. But the finer details you only learn by playing the champion. Same here in bottom lane, honestly. The fact that Ash Braum is even/ahead in CS here against Sunstar is honestly impressive. They're obviously looking for a base timing now myself because they need to get back to base because Sunstar's walking back with items. So if Veritas and Hillsang stay longer to greet potentially for a different build, then they're going to be in trouble. It's also really important that whenever you play a Ghostplay champion, you base immediately on your item mark, because if you can base before the enemy gets his BF money, which is slightly more, then you actually have a good window of opportunity where you can punish. But Unicorn has managed to base and get their like first ideal item, and they're doing the classic swap past 5 minutes of the game and speed up the macro play again here, because now they can lean on the advantage that they have in the top lane. Chachi is already beating Smitty J. There is a wave stacked up in the top lane, and with the presence of Ash Braum, this may result in turret first blood for the Unicorns.
It's a really smart play. This is something that we have seen over in the LCK multiple times, where if you have that small advantage in the top half, you can very quickly punish it. But look at the bottom half of the map right now. Yeah,
look at it. Jin is freezing, and that's because they had async. They've been in base at the same time. I can't find a word, but they weren't in synchrony right there. Because Karma was in base, and that means they can fully put on the pressure top lane. There's no cross-map potential here. Smitty J's in trouble.
Take a look at this gang being set up in the top lane. Chachi, Veritas with a kill there onto Smitty. Just an easy kill as Maxwell has to back out.
And now the reaction comes out from Karma Jin in the bottom lane, but they were freezing the wave. They weren't set up for the tower push.
This was just really smart setup from the Unicorns. They were not Giants were not expecting this play to come out. The reason why the freeze was coming in the bottom was because Giants were trying to deny Veritas and Hillsang, and then the fact that Veritas and Hillsang moved to the top path, they set up the dive onto Smitty J, they get that first blood tower, and now they are in full control of the map.
Yeah, and you see also this tower priority reflected in the average time it used to take in standard lanes for a first tower to go down. That was 12 minutes. In lane swap, obviously, it felt much quicker here, but this is first tower falling 5 minutes earlier due to a macro play here from the Unicorns, and they want more.
Man, Unicorns are keeping up the pressure. Maxwell getting caught out there by the stun stacks from Chachi. That's another kill to the Unicorn, but Smitty and Hudson looking to get one in return. Move, trying to body block for him. Hillsang's there as well, and Chachi, he gets away with it.
The Unicorns are just being relentless with their pressure, and Sunstar just can't match it on the other side of the map. We wondered whether or not Giants could adapt to this change in standard lanes, and it looks like right now that they are not doing it.
But we still have to judge that action for what it was. It was slightly over EQ because they waste a lot of time. You need to look at it. It was 4 members investing the total of their time for a single kill. behind him in the turret while all the minions were being soaked anyway, so that looked like a fancy play, but it was nearly not as efficient as it looked because Sunstar is getting free reign on this turret to at least neutralize a couple of things. But we have to go back to how it all started. BF on point, on curve, that base, rotated in the top lane. Because Karma and Jhin didn't base at the same time, Jhin was freezing in the bot lane, slowing down the pushes, and that's exactly how you punish a freeze. You go to the other side of the map, and you just tear stuff down.
Unicorns of Love picking up this pretty strong early advantage in this series. 2,000 gold at 8 minutes, nothing to be sniffed at. Really good to see the Unicorns opening up this one, swinging. And both of those kills going to Veritas as well on that Ashe. I was actually wondering if people were going to try and take that one away from him, because that was his most picked champion coming into the series.
The thing is, we have to wonder now how the Unicorns try to continue with this push, because they get themselves that first tower. They now have a very solid gold lead. It is a Cloud Drake on the board, so they could look to try and pick that one up for themselves early, but with the vision being set up for Giants right now, that's an area of the map that they're trying to contest.
Honestly, there's two things the Unicorns need to do right now. They need to make sure that Fizisachi can keep leaning on Smitty, which means he needs a couple of wards, or he needs information of where Maxlor is. If he always has the priority on Smitty J, he can soon start going mid, carrying over a wave there to go for a play, maybe sending the Rise down in the bottom lane, or have a favorable TP moment in the game if there's deep wards being placed by the Unicorns. Later in the game, Ashe wants to move to the mid lane. Just like Jhin, she's one of those carries that was always played in 1v1s. Those AD carries want to end up in the middle of the map later on.
Well, it's got these two teams just taking a bit of a chill for a second, as we have a rotation from Maxwell to the top lane. Movers escorting Veritas down the bottom river here. They'll be taking away this pink ward to start this one off, and Hustlin also rotating up here. We'll see them taking this one away, as they also invade for a little bit more pressure in terms of vision.
So this is actually really smart, as the arrow comes out in the bottom half of the map of Sunstar. He's going to sidestep.
Swing and a miss.
It's no, this is the highest level of play. These are called zoning arrows.
Okay, all right. I'm wrong.
Controlling areas of the map.
It's all about fluid pressure.
Yeah.
Commonly seen on overrated casters in Master playing Thresh. The zoning hook, a common phenomenon.
But look at the rotation now coming out from Hustlin and Sunstar. They're trying to set up a play in the mid because of where the lane is right now from the Unicorns and Giants. To be honest, we have to criticize whether or not they are able to set this one up, but look at Maxlor. He's going for a potential flank.
Hustlin, he's doing a bit of poking, but that's going to lead into the deadly flourish, followed by the curtain call. Hustlin is, however, on the front line still. He's going to have to flash away, but Move will chase after. First kill coming out of that ultimate. Chachi now coming into the fight. The Maelstrom will find the second one. Maxlor is getting pushed under the tower, and Unicorns are looking for this dive. Sunstar with the triple kill.
Triple kill here for Move, actually, I think it is. He picks them all up. Rek'Sai 3-0-2 right now, and what a reaction from the Unicorns. It looked so good for Giants on that pickup early. Deadly Flourish connects, but then the cast from Maxlor threw Exile sideways, and it all went sour.
It was Giants trying to force the play in the mid lane. They looked to try and get the pick down onto Exile, but they just didn't have the damage. The response from Chachi with that flanking teleport was exactly what you needed. So you can see the initial setup. Hustling comes in, forces a bit of poke down, they get the initial route onto Exile, and then Exile gets split away from Move. Hillisang is already coming in from the flank, and then the TP, we don't have time for that because the fight's in the bottom.
The action isn't stopping here. Vedi as the flash away from Veritas. He may indeed survive. Smitty J doesn't get the kill, and he'll go down himself. Maxwell can't help out.
And with all these kind of trigger-happy plays from Giants, we need to start looking at how potentially this is going to affect them in Game 2, because they seem very eager to chase their loss. Failure happened, immediately flashed in for a return kill. This was a teleport from Smitty J over on the kind of overextending Veritas in the bot lane, who was playing for that tower, but then he chased the kill aggressively with the flash and died. And right now, Unicorns, they're playing so crisp. They're really reacting to whatever is going on, and Giants, they're put on the back foot.
Were we expecting the crispy play coming out here from the Unicorns of Love? Because, of course, we had these 2 weeks. All right, I'm going to hold that for a second. As I told Mitch, just his face light up as he saw the pink walls being picked up by the Unicorns.
Right
so
here.
crisp.
This is like a support's wet dream, you know? You press tab, or you see the arrow, zoning arrow.
Yeah.
Fantastic
Forced
concept,
him to the right there.
That's all what's hard to find. No, for pink part, so important to have river control right now, because unlike in a lane swap where the map is open so early, in standard lanes there is much more potential for kind of rotations, and you push in a wave in mid lane and use that time to go for an objective. And if you can move through the river freely, it is so much more beneficial for you as a team. We saw that in the SKT-KT series. A lot of the roams were dictated by who had the river control with pink wards, and I really like that Unicorns is respecting this fact.
It's really good to see how much Unicorns have adapted to the patch. This was something that Senkirk's brought up on the desk. Perhaps Giants would lose the first game, or maybe even two, but their ability to adapt will now be highly in question as the game progresses, because they are at about 4K down. They are very behind in each of their lanes. In particular, Smitty J, and right now they're just trying to do damage control.
Yeah, with their ulti.
You can keep an eye on Move right now. He is setting up in the bottom half of the map, potentially trying to force down this tower. And with Exile posturing his way down to the bottom half, it also looks like that is the next objective on the eyes of the Unicorn.
Yeah, and that's basically what you do. If you're Exile, you just disappear into Fog of War, and you tell them, I can dive bottom, please step away from the turret. Unicorns can take it freely. But it all started with Vizicachi having an advantage over Smitty J. Like, that is... You need to find a weak point of your opponent, and then you really need to lean on it as hard as you can and kind of exploit that, because if you're already winning the lane, you have control over where you park the minion wave, where you want to stack the wave, where you want to freeze, deny, push. So Vizicachi had that control, and the Unicorns then used a decent base timing in the bottom to just rotate top, and they just forced the pressure on that weak point from Giants, and they took a tower first, and at that point Giants was always reacting, and then they tried to gank top lane with Gragas, but they failed because there was a ward again. You know, Vizicachi was thoroughly being protected. So Unicorns, I feel like they're playing as a team and as a unit, something we saw later in the season as well.
Really impressive. Being put in these standard lanes just seems to maybe have that knowledge from how much they did it, of course, in the regular season, how they performed, and now coming into playoffs looking a whole lot better. 7-0 in this game. Last time we checked in, they were 2,000 gold ahead. Now over 5,000 gold with that first initial Cloud Dragon on top of that. Unicorns live in a real dominating position at the 15-minute mark.
The thing is, now they can just take their time. They have a composition that scales incredibly well into the min lane. Very much built for team fighting with the Rise and the Cannon, but they can also set up for the 1-3-1. They have options for the 1-4. They have so many options available with their comp, but Giants, they're trying to answer with a dive in the top.
Yeah, Chachi does have ult, but he's 1 versus 3. He's going to have to turn around onto Smitty, see if he can get the burst damage down. Deadly Flush will also come in to assist. Yeah, I think you call that one, Crepo. He dead.
He's dead, but the rest of Unicorns moving up. I don't think Giants can get enough out of this play, but this is a little lackluster here. Yes, they can take their time if they don't make any mistakes in doing so. You know, if you play the game slow, mistakes cost you much more here.
Let's see. Largest gold lead, 50 in this split for the Unicorns. Oh no, just straight up the largest gold lead this split. Very impressive from the Unicorns so far.
We're already setting records. This is also the largest gold lead at 15 minutes in playoff summer 2016 so far.
I mean, you can...
It's the first game.
Damn it, Crepo. I'm going to talk about mid lane. So they've just been doing a lot of farming so far. Exile does, of course, have that first kill on those 3 assists. We're talking about maybe the snowball potential of this Rise, how Knight maybe won't need people to assist him, but currently the Rise seems to have had a pretty much free pass in this laning phase.
I mean, he should have died once. The gank from Maxlor, if the cast was positioned correctly, he would have dropped immediately, and that fight would have looked so differently. But that's also strength of Unicorns. You need to be able to punish mistakes.
So Giants, they did notice that the Rift Tower was being started. There were a lot of pings, and it looked like the Giants were quite eager to try and contest that objective. So it does seem that they're getting a little bit more energy now, but it's still very much Giants reacting to a lot of the plays coming out from the Unicorns.
Yeah, and it's also the Unicorns leaving room for potential punishment, and that is something we saw, especially in their lane swaps throughout the entirety of the season. Once the map opens up and the objectives aren't as clear anymore, like what's next, perhaps it is some towers that are harder to approach, and those take multiple steps. You know, to correctly get like a tier 2 tower, you need to take a couple of steps in a row that are absolutely correct in their execution. Then things get tricky for Unicorns, and they obviously sometimes fumble in doing so. That is Giants' way in, you know. Unicorns greeting for the next objective as opposed to calmly playing out the game until perhaps Nash responds.
I mean, we only have to think back to the Unicorns versus Vitality game where they were literally in Vitality's base, and then after one terrible team fight because they over-aggressed too much, trying to dive onto the Nexus towers, they end up giving away an ace, Vitality swing it around and turn the game around. So this is something that we have seen recurring from the Unicorns of Love, but given their play so far, it seems that they've shown a lot of improvement over the last 2.
And I think a potential solution for the Unicorns here is to move that Ashe Braum into the mid lane, put Exile on the side lane. Look at this Rise. He has Ghost Flash available. He has really good item build finish so far. There isn't that much threat. The Karma Jhin won't shut him down. Yes, he won't have priority over them 1v2, but that's not what he's looking for. I think it's honestly paramount for Unicorns mid game if they put Ashe and Braum in the mid lane right now.
Fortunately, Exile is putting a lot of pressure down onto Knight. He's really struggling to actually trade back with the Rise, and so he has slowly been chunking down onto this tower, especially after that failed gank that happened earlier on. So Unicorns grouping now with 4 members in the mid, especially with Chachi coming in for a potential flank. this mid lane tower is the next priority.
Oh, Exile getting caught here. Maxwell's going to punish him. He'll try and flash away, but he is getting blocked out here. Knight will finally take him down. Chachi coming into the fight. He'll take out Maxlaw for a 1 trade.
But in the end, that's a 1-for-1, and Giants still have their top laner stuck in a side lane with teleport advantage here. So greatly beneficial trade for Giants.
There are no wards though for Giants for Chachi to set up the flank. His Narbar is building up, so if he's going to teleport, now is the time to do it.
Chachi, he's moving forwards. Just get the stun down on tonight. He'll go down into the Sanguine Pool. Tower will drop here. He's coming in. Knight's just going to pop there. No Sanguine Pool to save him. No summoners at all.
I mean, the whole point I was trying to make there was the fact that Smitty J had side lane pressure. Giants, they could concede the tower, but at least they managed to trade 1-for-1, and they were clawing back into the game. That gets negated entirely when Smitty J decides to teleport on a dying turret. Even more slowly right now, you know, with the added like half a second or second to that teleport. The starter here is good, you know, they pick off Exile when you least expect it. Smitty J is still on the bottom. They get surprised a little bit by Visit Chachi's flashing in, so they needed to concede Maxlor. But trading 1-for-1 and losing Kennen's flash, this is honestly where Giants can be happy. A 25% HP tower you can concede, and you can trade that for bot lane pressure on Smitty J to try and kind of get back into the game. This teleport right here tells me that Giants don't actually know what they're doing.
Yeah, it looked like the Giants wanted to try and force the play because Knight being that low and playing that aggressively, he's expecting Smitty J with a Narbar fully raged up and ready to go. But then because Unicorns just focus down the tower, they know that that fourth member isn't going to come in. And that results in a 4 versus 3 for Unicorns. And look, they can very easily clean up Knight. And then it's just another kill and another tower going over to Unicorns. So right now, leading 3-1, Unicorns still in full control of the game, heavily punishing the mistakes.
I mean, we were looking at the ways that Giants could potentially come back into this game and get a foothold. Maybe that's from how the Unicorns of Love would approach these towers. Maybe they can punish them, but they stepped up to mid lane and Unicorns took the tower and then took the people as well. And currently just built up an even bigger advantage.
Yep. And the advantage is just going to keep going with the Cloud Drake going to be spawning up in about 20 seconds. Looks like Sunstar moving to the top half with Hustlin and Maxlaw should be able to take this turn in return. But now we have to keep an eye on how Unicorns can try and take advantage of the situation. Dragon is likely going to be the point of contention, but without any teleport on Smitty J, he can't assist in any way in the top half.
Yeah, these outer turrets can often be taken seemingly for free because the crossmap potential is not there. What they're going to do is trade chip damage on tier 2 tower and mid, and more importantly, they trade for the setup for siege on bot. So for that tier 1 tower in Giant, top lane for Giants, they have to concede the entire access to their red side jungle. It's getting swept by Unicorns. All the wards get put in place, which means Unicorns can siege freely, and the only way to defend is basically approaching it from the front, which makes it very easy for Unicorns to react, and good damage here by Veritas.
And Smitty was trying to make it happen. Deadly Flush doesn't land, but the cast does. Veritas will have to flash away. Returns with the arrow. Maxlaw getting chunked down. He'll jump away, but Chachi will jump in. The ult comes out. He finds 1 kill. Goes golden here, and can the team bail him out? He's going to get the stun onto 4 people. Exile comes in to try and clean up the mess, but isn't quite enough. He gets tagged by the broom right now from Smitty J, but he'll trade his life for it. Unicorns of Love will make their way out.
A lot of low health members on both sides right now, but it is Unicorns of Love that are being forced back. Giants, they want to continue the chase.
They have the Karma Shield coming up, but they're being stymied by the Braum Slow and the Ashe as well. How are you going to follow that? Veritas potentially looking for the turnaround, slowing down Knight, but it looks like we have the end of the aggression.
Yeah, a bit of a sloppy dive there in the end. Like, nobody was committing with Visichat. He seemed very reactive. Another good engage from Maxlor, though. He is keeping Giants in the game. Let's watch that fight again here. This is Veritas' move, being too far up. They kind of bait themselves in by how successful their chip was. The whole goal wasn't to get this tower down, it was to get it low enough, but they kind of get sucked into the fight, and then this tower is just hitting everybody. Look at Exile wants to get out of the fight, then back in. Moves tanking here is not contributing to the fight either, so Unicorns had the illusion that they're going for the dive, and in essence, it was only 1 or 2 members playing against 4 and 5 separately at 1 at a time, really.
Knock-on effects here. 22 minutes in, the second dragon now picked up by the Unicorns. That would be the second Cloud Dragon. I'm going to check what the next one's going to be here. Yet another Cloud Dragon. So it will be 3 Cloud Dragons in 1 game to start this one off. And Cloud Dragons give you a lot of movement speed now. With 50 movement speed, that is more than the last one even gave you.
At this point, they can be the difference where you're kiting somebody and expect them to never reach you in most games. Like, a lot of players creep into habits. Like, they see a player with a certain item set, and it's like, okay, this guy can never reach me, it's fine. But then suddenly he does, and he lands the first spell on you, which means a lot more damage. That's kind of the effect that a Cloud Drake or a triple set of Cloud Drakes can have. Also, seemingly when you're chasing somebody and you're this close from landing a skill shot, he'll just run away from you. By this close, I'm holding my fingers very close
I was going to
together.
comment on that. It's like, I see what you're saying here, but no one else does. It was a small amount, guys. That's all you need to know. Unicorns of Love trying to close in around Knight here. He is fairly extended. There's the arrow on top of him. He just had the Sanguine Pool, but he is stun locked for the meanwhile. He has 2 stacks of concussive blows and will instantly go down after he comes back up. Nice pick from the Unicorns.
Knight really getting caught out of position. Really good arrow from Veritas to punish it, but with the flash, he didn't feel it was worth it because of move coming in from the flank. And given that Unicorns had already set up vision control around the Baron and SminiJ being on the other half of the map, this is going to be their next objective.
Well, trying to convert this into the Baron. Huston's going to see it out, has the ward going down. Trying to zone away with the curtain call coming up. Maxor is also just being on the front lines, trying to be a bit of a body blocker, but Chachi trying to find the flank. Jumps on top of Sunstar. Not quite enough damage to finish up, but he will be buying time on that back line. Exile's going to jump forwards, will find Huston. He'll be the first casualty of the fight for Giants. Chachi will be chasing after Maxor, does get the stun down, and the rest of the team also arrives. Exile being knocked away by Maxor, and that'll just be that nice 1 kill for the Unicorns.
Yeah, Exile putting the Rise in surprise right there. But a little bit of miscommunication, I feel, from Unicorns. With Chachi zoning so aggressively in the front line, I think they could have turned and finished the Baron, because he was keeping Maxor busy. It was really hard to call in the heat of the moment, but Giants kind of stifled that Baron attempt with only sacrificing their support. So in essence, both teams are honestly, I guess, a bit happy with how that turned out.
Yeah.
Notice that Veritas has actually moved to the bottom lane, so Unicorns, they are just going to concede any pressure around the Baron right now. It is still, it was a really good flank from Chachi. Unfortunately, he didn't quite have enough damage to get the shutdown onto Sonstar. And I just want to, just the initial setup from Giants is actually quite good because you're getting a lot of poke down, you're actually forcing a lot of damage, but then the flank from Chachi onto Sonstar immediately forcing him away from the fight. The next problem comes from SminiJ not having the full rage bar, that he can't really contribute that much and actually get the successful disengage.
Yeah, but there's also always 2 sides to a coin. If you say not enough damage, that is because Vizichachi is opting into a Zonius Abyssal build. This guy is incredibly tanky. No Protobelt shenanigans for all-in burst, which means you can just use him to buy time. He can easily buy 5 to 6 seconds, which is enough to burn a Baron down. So I think that's where kind of Unicorns of Love were baited in by their own lead. If this is an even game, you will sack the cannon, go for the Baron, finish it off anyways. But they tried to win the team fight. They kind of got sucked in. Slightly inefficient Baron plays, but they're still in the lead by a margin of 7,000, which is honestly so impressive by the Unicorns.
Still have control over that area as well. The pink ward's going down and completely starved of vision, so Giants don't even know this is going on. Now the blue trigger comes in, but may even just be too late. Here comes a TP out from SminiJ. Maxwell trying to get in a range for a potential steal. He'll come in here. Does not happen. Move will find it, and everyone jumps over the wall. Chachi will be the sacrificial lamb. He just allows everyone to get out alive with the Exile.
That was such a good ult from Exile. I was not expecting that play to come out at all, but that is such an effective use of the Rise ultimate to get out of what looked like a terrible situation.
Yeah, I'm so not used to casting this new Rise that I thought that Knight just obliterated, and I was waiting for the quarter kill announcement. And then I look over the ledge, and there's 4 happy campers from the Unicorn standing there. What an incredible creative use from this new Rise ulti here from the Unicorns.
I was really confused for a second. I actually just didn't know what was going on. Really well played by Exile. Unfortunately, Chachi missed the bus and it was unfortunately hanging out with Giants, so he went down.
League of Legends is a crude world. Punishment for missing the bus?
There you go, kids. Never miss the bus from now on. Sunstar trying to defend this bottom tower, but it's already very low from the last Unicorns push, so Move will come down here and pick up all that juicy gold.
That seems like the biggest troll too. Imagine if this guy's calculating, he's like running the numbers. Yeah, Baron DPS an average of 2k per second. Okay, cast time on Rise ulti, you know, do all the numbers. Okay, I'm gonna start casting it right now. And you port your entire team out when Baron's on 500 HP. Enemy team walks in, says thank you very much.
Unlucky would be the usual phrase for that. But right now, Giants are the unlucky ones. They're taking a lot of poke damage from the side of the Unicorns of Love. Chachi has been set up to the top half of the map, so you now have the 1-4 setup from the Unicorns with the Baron. There's a lot of pressure being exerted onto Giants. They have decent wave clear, but it's still not really going to be enough to deal with this sort of thing.
Yeah, but they just group for safety, and then they peel off the Rise, and they make it into a 1-3-1, because Baron is, the more you spread out, the more efficient it is. That's what we expected, but turns out Exile just really wanted Krugs. Guess they're wrong.
Yeah. Getting into the minds of Exile here.
Yep, like, clearly he's going to push bottom lane, put pressure and amplify the script. No, just...
I could get a rock, guys.
Doing Krugs.
No,
Krug abuse.
Krug abuse, not okay. Chachi just trading off with SminiJ. Runeterra is a cruel world, as we have experienced in this first game. from here on out, we should be like, well, this is what I would do if I was in Exile's situation. Just watch him do something else. Like, I will always
Down to
creative
Krug.
decision making.
He needs to go to Krug rehab.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is the Baron attempt here. So they stop Maxwell, which is good. Healer gets a knock up, but it's barely gets in range for a potential smite steal, and then poof, everybody's gone.
The setup was so good from Exile. Just as the Baron was being nuked down, it's one of those calls where you're just like nuke it, nuke it, nuke it, and then it's timed so well. Very impressive. I feel like he's practiced that before. Like, I don't think that's a play you could just, hey, I've got a great idea. Let's just go for it.
I'd hope that teams have scrimmed the champions that they're performing on the stage in the quarterfinals.
I feel like playing a bit of Rise today here, boys. I'm gonna bust this one out.
I mean, I used to play with a guy like that. It's like, you know what? Pick me Diana. It's like, how often have you played Diana?
Enough.
Played it twice in solo queue.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but clearly the Unicorns of Love have practiced this pick. Edging on the 30-minute mark now, still have that massive advantage, almost getting towards the 10k horizon. And with just such a big advantage in this game, like, what do Giants do? They look for a way back into this game, or do they look at what information they've gleaned from the Unicorns in this first game?
I mean, honestly, they start banning game 2 pick and bans. That's what I would do.
I mean, this is definitely Unicorn's game to lose, but the things we still have to take into consideration is Jhin has a powerful late game, same for the Vlad. You know, you can always make the late game argument, but it's very much about how Unicorns of Love actually close out the game. And you know, tracking back to some of their games in the past, they've actually shown a lot of struggles in being able to close things out, because in some of their games against Vitality, they had 2 Barons and an Elder Drake and still couldn't close out the game. And this is something that we'll have to see whether or not Unicorns have adapted during these last 2 games.
Yeah, it's also a bit of a slower Ashe build here on Veritas too. You know, BT third isn't the best for DPS-wise. It keeps you safe, but there are better DPS options. So Unicorns aren't putting all their money on offense. The fact that Cannon didn't kind of go for a Proto Belt also made things harder. If Visitachi has a hard time landing the key ultimate with Flash, like Flash plus Proto Belt generally nets you, guarantee that you can connect that ultimate. But here you see moving in for Smitty. Smitty had to use Flash, so it looks like he's a goner.
Yeah, this will be probably a bit of a slow kill since he is a tank, but there's 2 people on him. And now with Veritas coming in, goodbye Smitty J. Just another nice pick from the Unicorns of Love, doing a good job about this game.
Like, there's no real reason for Smitty J to be that far up in the lane when you have no control of your half of the jungle anymore. Unicorns.
Gotta get that gold.
Gotta get the gold, yeah. But it's a little bit overzealous, especially against a Kennen who has typically been doing pretty well in the lane so far. And given how much attention Move has spent on that side of the map, but now Exile going on to Knight.
Oh, Knight's dropping though. He'll go down to the Sanguine Pool, but Exile is just going to run after him. He misses the overload. The flash away. Flux lands. He'll jump after into the Zhonya's, but he'll just camp on top of him. Look for the kill. Misses the overload again. Now the rest of the team is there to zone him away. Move jumps over the wall, but he's on the wrong side of that one. But Chachi comes in to assist. He's on top of Austin. He explodes. Knight will try and back away, but Maxwell's also going to fall for a nice double there for the Unicorns.
Shocking play from the Unicorns of Love, catching the Giants by surprise. Initially, it looked like Exile could have been in a bit of a sticky situation, but fortunately for him, Move was there to back him up. Really good tunnel under the wall to intercept Sunstar from getting that ultimate down. And then the follow-up from Chachi to allow Unicorns to break into the base of Giants.
Unicorns of Love fans out here in force as they take down the middle inhib, chunk the top tower as well. Chachi may be caught out. Knight was trying to get in there with the Proto Belt, but didn't quite make it happen.
A good snowball from the Unicorns, honestly. They find a pick. Their isolated 1v1 matchup is missing, so he starts pushing the needle. And then, honestly, Knight did a great job kind of dodging all these key spells. Like Zhonya's on the right timing, Sidestep on the right timing. Sunstar could have maybe had the follow-up, but this was Giants trying to stop the push in the setup, because if Unicorns are allowed to make a setup that is 5v4, it will always end up, you know, advantageous for them. But then Move does the whole bodyguard movement. Another beautiful zoning arrow from Veritas coming out. And then Hustlin, he's like a support in the late game on a losing team, which means you die a lot.
Yeah. I mean, like, he's just trying to condition his opponents, right? That's a big thing in Smash. You condition them into, like, shielding, for example, and then in later series, he'll just shoot an arrow in a random direction or flash into it. And it's just like, what a god.
It's all part of the long... It's a 5-game series.
It's a best of 5, there you go.
You got to play for the true late game.
You play for the war, you know?
Yeah.
Not the battle.
Yeah. That's how you win a war. Just lose multiple battles, and there you go. 15 seconds left on that Baron, though, guys. And Unicorns of Love are already around the area. Maxlaw, he's He's just hanging outside the party door right now. He wants to get involved, see if he can get a potential smite off.
Yeah, Giants challenging mid-wave right here. This is the fundamental first step into kind of Baron congestion. You always want to make sure you have mid lane priority. Unicorns can simply walk up and kind of zone them though. Here goes the arrow onto Smitty J.
Onto Smitty J. Move is looking for the knockup, but the big ultimate in from Chachi. Massive one from Smitty J as well. And everyone is just taking so much damage. This is a complete mess. But Giants starting to lose this one out. 2 kills to the Unicorns of Love. They'll get the third on tonight. And Exile chasing after. Overload finds the 4th kill. Solstyle now in this 1-on-1. Make that a 5 versus 1. For the 5-0. The ace out for the Unicorns.
The Unicorns of Love get themselves the ace, and they're gonna be taking game 1 of this best of 5. Ladies and gentlemen, the Unicorns have come to play.
Yeah, they come to play. It looked so grim at the start. Veritas went down 20% HP, but then suddenly the fight got turned around here. Nexus 1 falls, Nexus 2 falls. And that's
Unicorns of Love, well, they definitely won the battle and in a good position to take the war as well. Game 1 goes to the Unicorns.
And that last fight, I mean, things actually looked pretty promising for the Giants because there was a really good ultimate from Maxlaw. You saw a multi-man Vlad pool come out from Knight, and things just looked so good. But then you have Chachi come in, the fantastic ultimate from Hillisang as well to really facilitate any good follow-up from Giants, and it was just Unicorns playing a fantastic team fight at the end to close things out.
And that's what gives me hope for this series, because there were multiple instances where Giants honestly made the right moves, and either by slight execution or by the fact that the Unicorns had such a large goal lead, these plays failed. But if the next game is slightly more even, it means that these mid-game kind of actions from Giants will actually net them a lead. Because that fight on even terms would have been won. Obviously, you can go like, but Crepo, if they were on even terms, Unicorns wouldn't be positioning that aggressively. Yeah. But still, like, there's still a lot of fight left into the Giants.
And this is something that we talked about earlier on in the series, and how well Giants are now going to be able to adapt moving into game 2, because they got heavily punished by a very early swap. The 2 versus 2, they initially wanted it. They were like, guys, you said lane swaps were gone. You know, we're supposed to be standard lanes now. This is like solo queue, right? But no, they end up getting punished for it. And it all stemmed from that initial gank in the top lane where Move went with the Rek'Sai, got the level 3 gank, and then things just started to snowball out of control.
Yeah, and on this patch, there's kind of 2 ways to get the first tower. There is the one that we expect the most is like the group up mid, then take everybody down for a bot lane party, win that and take the tower. But there's also kind of the more subtle one, which is gank top lane to get an advantage, get a base timing on bot lane, and then move to top lane and make a 4v1 party there. And the problem is, the bot laners can't actually teleport to the top lane party, so that's always a numbers advantage.
Well, that's it from game 1 here on the Caster at least. So the Unicorns will have taken that game 1 over Giants. So let's head to the analyst desk to break down how it was done.
Thank you very much. I'm here on the Danish desk with Deficio and Sencooks. And, well, a couple of stats to lead us into this conversation. This was the first lead at 10 minutes for the Unicorns of Love in 7 games. And it was the biggest lead, at 10 minutes that was, and the biggest lead they had this split so far. Why do you giggle about that?
Because this was an unlucky game go next, I think, from Giants' part. It was, I don't know, there was so many rookie mistakes, and it seems like they thought about, a lot of people think outside that's pros, that the game is like completely different now, that you can't lane swap, you can only go 2v2 bot, you can never swap in the game. Like, still after 5 minutes, you can still swap if they try and free spot. And they have slow pushing wave top. And
hang on, we have a replay.
Yeah, but this was unlucky.
It was unlucky.
It was unlucky. First, though, picks and bans want to take a look at those. Obviously, we were excited to see what will come out, especially in the bottom lane and the mid lane picks. Nothing too crazy there, but you guys had a thing or two to say about the selection. Lysandra, oh yeah, that was the ban, obviously.
I mean, so some crazy stuff.
Yeah.
First rotation Rise. Definitely not something I predicted. You definitely didn't predict it either. You actually like almost mad at Unicorns for picking it this early.
I still believe that this champ is not like good. So I said to the others as well, the casters in the room, that I don't think this champ is good at all. I think it's really easy kiteable, but I think when you pick something like that wants to run in with Ghost, you kind of give Rise what he wants, especially when it's first pick. That you can pick a whole comp around it that makes Rise not able to move forward, because this champ can only deal damage if you move into him. If you want to move in with Rise, like, it's really useless, because even though your Q has longer range now, it's really slow, so you can't hit it long range. It's really hard.
I mean, so there's some cool things. Rise obviously coming in early was a surprise, but then in my opinion, seeing, as you said, the Vladimir, which, like, one of the reasons Rise got played in the first place was because he was good against Vlad, specifically, like, outside of just pure laning phase, because Vlad had to dive the back line, and that was picked later, so that was kind of weird. the Kennen pick from Chachi is very interesting, and I think this is one of the reasons Unicorns can do well in this patch is because like 1v1, Chachi is really, really good. He also picks for 1v1. Like when you pick Kennen into Gnar, you'd pick it to win that lane. And that actually proved super, super good for Unicorns in this game because we have that replay. You were already talking a little bit about it. We're just going to make sure everyone can follow by also seeing, you know, everything on screen. So the start of this replay is Sunstar is going to freeze the bottom lane. Now, freezing waves, especially in the early game, is so, so risky. Also when teams rush for first tower, because this means now you can swap to top side with your dual lane.
Yeah, exactly. And like this is a typical move that you will do in solo queue because you will tilt the enemy AD carry because he can't get farm and he's like whining, my support is roaming, blah, blah, blah. But instead they just choose to go top because they have a huge slow pushing top wave. And the Gnar already got really far behind from the first gank. So they will be super far ahead in tempo of this push and they will 100% get the tower first. And after that they can pressure even harder on the second tower and they got I think like 2 more kills or something. And then the Ashe was maybe 10 CS, I think, behind, but had 2 ult.
But had 2 kills. And a first tower as well, obviously getting the gold, which is the key thing. So when you're freezing this bottom lane this early, you lose out on tempo. And also because Chachi had already built up that big wave on top side, because he was obviously really far ahead on the Kennen, it becomes a little bit predictable as Giants being like, enemy dual lane recalls, Kennen builds up a big wave on top side. There is a chance they're going to go top now because it's after 5 minutes. Didn't react at all. Got surprised. Froze bottom lane, lost the tempo, lost the tower, and just game over.
Like that's also I feel like the biggest part why this play actually worked like super good for from UOL is because Giants wasn't prepared for it. Like Maxo was top side, and you can actually do this where you put your jungler top side if you have TP on the top lane. But Smitty didn't have because he got like gank level 3 and used it to go into top lane again. So like Maxo being top side here is really useless, and they get really far behind also because they have Jhin. He doesn't really push towers that fast. So overall, the play just I think settle the game.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. Giants have a 4 out of 11 wins in standard games. That's only 33% win rate in standard games. And you were mentioning, hey, this doesn't come from mechanical skill. This is purely not knowing what to do in the standard lanes with this new setup because the bot lane disappearing and going top, that's not something new.
No, you could do that before, obviously. It's just even more impactful now if you do go top and get the first tower from it after the fortification buff is gone after the 5 minutes. So it was a really good play from Unicorns of Love, and it's showing Giants have some clear issues communicating between multiple lanes because when Sunstar's freezing bot, again, he kind of sells the rest of his team as well, and that was just a bad play. And it obviously got even worse.
It snowballed.
It snowballed out of control even more, and that's where Unicorns in the next replay we have just basically, like, they won the game already. They just win it even harder after this play.
I also feel like it's a really desperate play from Giants. Like they have to try something to get back into the game here, and then Maxo fails the ulti, and this play will just, like you just know now it's going to be really bad for them when they do several members.
But then after this, honestly, after Unicorns here get a few kills and really good setup from them, good ulti by the way from Hylissang, the game kind of slowed down despite being at this point over 5k gold ahead. Because then suddenly you got to start playing 1-3-1 with Ryze and Kennen. That never really happened a whole lot for Unicorns.
They seem to be more like grouping as 4, kind of like the Vishichachi split, but like Kennen isn't the biggest split pusher in the game, but he could pressure the Gnar still. And then they try to bait the Nashor, and like where we also saw like the Ryze ulti.
Yeah, let's take a look at that. A cool tidbit here in the game. They say, peace out, Vishichachi, we're all leaving.
Oh, that's really
it's the best. Like, Chachi's ready to fight here, man. And
he gets a bit trolled here, I think.
Bye.
And, then Vishichachi saying like, yep, I'm going to 1v5, guys. Look at me. Kennen, yes. Sucks.
I don't know if he was supposed to run in and like catch the portal as well on the way out, but he was...
You guys said they could have won the fight anyway with this.
Actually, I don't know, because when I watched the second time, they have that ult, and I think Braum was like 10 HP, so I actually think it was fine to do, but I think Vishichachi should maybe be on the same page and not just run in when the team is like, peace bro, see ya. And then...
he wanted to be the hero, you know, stopping them from...
He was already the hero.
He was already a hero
so,
this game.
Yeah, there we saw the Giants, of course, have a lot to talk about. If you were Lothar, what is the one alteration you tell them going into game 2?
I mean, first of all, I would talk about that level 6-minute swap that happened. And basically go over why did it happen, how do you make sure it doesn't happen again, like don't freeze the bottom side when the enemy dual lane goes missing because they could go top. So that doesn't mess you up again.
I feel like it was kind of a first game of the day. That happens to some teams, including ourselves sometimes in scrims as well. The first game is a bit sloppy, so I think they just have to like review the game a little bit. There wasn't too much to review, honestly. Like after the first swap and then the fight mid, it was really lost.
And you said they would lose the first 2 games and then get 3 wins in a row.
Yes, I'm actually predicting that
Both
right now. I
predictions
believe
are
in me.
still on track.
I said
so-
Unicorn's gonna win.
Yeah. You said 3-2 for Unicorns, you said 3-2 for Giants, so nothing's played here yet. Well, we need to take a quick break while the players ready up for Game 2, but don't go anywhere. The summer playoff quarterfinals between Giants and UOL continue right after this.